You to conjure up an image of the M6 motorway in your mind, I bet it shows too much traffic. Well, Nightmare is one which the government is keen to get rid of by taking more freight off our roads and putting it onto railways instead. Well, in Newton-le-Willows, the former colliery Parkside has been earmarked for development as a new freight depot, and that's got many local people railing against it. Here's Rachel Ward.
Thanks, Rob. Since it closed over 10 years ago, Parkside Colliery in Newton-le-Willows has been little more than a waste ground. But now one developer wants to turn the site into a rail freight interchange. That's a proposal that's divided local opinion. In a moment, I'll be talking to Dave Watts, Labour MP. But first, let's hear what local people had to say. Parkside Colliery of old. From the late 1950s until its closure in 1993, these two towers dominated the Newton-le-Willows skyline. At its peak, 1,600 local men were employed and 762,000 tonnes of coal were produced every year. Today, Parkside Colliery is a waste ground used occasionally and illegally by travellers. But under new proposals, it could become a huge rail freight interchange, taking goods off the motorways onto the railways, something the government is very keen to promote.
The North West regional bodies have identified this location being on the West Coast Main Line, the Trans-Pennine Rail route and the M6 and M62 as being a very good spot for this kind of distribution hub.
Developers Astral say this scheme could create up to 10,000 jobs in the area, everything from manual work to office warehouse jobs.
In the past we've had multi-company employment in Newton-le-Willows, which has gone away over the years, and we've now got nothing whatsoever for our children growing up to leave school, to have an interest in school, knowing there's a job when they leave there, and we need this big development to fetch those jobs back.
For many other local people bitterly opposed to the scheme, though, the promise of jobs is not enough. Not only do many believe the figure is exaggerated, they say job creation doesn't mitigate the fact that greenbelt land will be lost.
This is not an industrial area, it's a residential area, it's a semi-rural area, and there is only this small amount of green belt which separates us from all the major conurbations, and we don't want to be part of a major conurbation. We want to stay as we are, as a semi-rural small town.
People say it's going to be rail to road and road to rail freight, but you find that the estimation is 5,000 vehicles per day. That's 5,000 in and 5,000 out. On a network with two motorways crossing close by, you've already got saturation points every rush hour of the working week. So can you imagine another truck every 20 seconds injected into that?
Looking at the 18 freight trains in, 18 freight trains out that have been proposed, most of those will actually run at night. Now, this is a built-up residential area as well. The only time that Ashton can actually get these trains in is actually through the night. So as far as sleep deprivation as well, that's going to be a big problem.
Without Parkside, the number of HGVs and the number of trains is going to increase anyway. With Parkside, we put in place a number of measures which mitigate the effects of the scheme, which through public consultation we hope will allay those fears.
Joining me now is St Helens North and Labour MP Dave Watts. Dave, you're broadly in favour of the proposals, but Astral Developments have said that Greenbelt will be destroyed, so why have the development there?
Well, I think there's a strong environmental argument. First of all, I think everyone agrees that we need to get traffic off the roads onto rail. To do that, we'll have to have freight terminals like the one in Parkside. Parkside is the only site that you can take traffic on and off without it going in local roads. So it's uniquely placed to provide this sort of facility. This will also create up to 10,000 new jobs, and it will be a £400 million investment. That's the biggest investment that's ever taken place in St Helens for many years.
Let's just take that figure of 10,000. A lot of local people are concerned because they feel that that's a figure that's sort of been plucked out of the ether, if you like. Where do you get those numbers from?
Well, they're not my figures and not the developers' figures. They had an independent study that looked at the sorts of development was going to go on that site, and they've come forward with that number of up to 10,000 jobs. As part of the planning process, that will be scrutinised, but it's been done in a normal way under the normal planning system.
Let's just take the issue of pollution. It's going to mean, obviously it's rail freight, but you've got to have lorries to put it onto the rail. That's going to mean a lot more traffic around what is already a heavily congested area.
It is, but as I said before, everyone knows that we need to get these wagons off the roads and onto rail. You can't do that without a freight terminal system. And as I said before, there's nowhere in the whole of the North West that can offer the same facility as Parkside. So I believe that it should have the backing of all the political parties. I've spoken to my colleagues in Westminster. If you talk to them nationally, they say the Liberal Party, the Conservative Party, the Greens, everyone's in favour of this development, and they know that it's a uniquely placed site to provide this facility.
Okay, Dave, thank you very much. Thanks, Rob, and now back to you in the studio.